Greetings, hello, and welcome to Life Love Lessons, Series 3 for the children's sake. And yes, today is a beautiful day. It's Monday, the 30th of June, and we give God thanks for this day. And so, as I welcome you back to Life Love Lessons, we are into series 3. We've had series 1 and 2 before, and now we are into series 3. As we are about to begin, let us acknowledge our Creator and Sustainer. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us. The presence of God sustains us. Wherever we are, God is. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. I thank God for you, and I thank you for being here with me. And now I will begin my slideshow. I will move to full screen. I must admit that I have no checkers or technicians with me this evening. And so I am hoping that all goes well. So, welcome. Series 3, Life Love Lessons for the Children's Sake, Living the Christ Life. And it's lesson 1, and it's called Grounding. And of course, you know, we're at Abundant Life Mastery at the call with Teacher Hazel. So I welcome all those who are with me in the live, and I also welcome those who will see the product after the fact. Welcome, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do enjoy doing it for you. So, let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm Teacher Hazel, Reverend Dr. Teacher Hazel Ann Gibbs DePisa, quite a mouthful, better known as Teacher Hazel. I am a joyful and blessed sister, aunt, mother, grandmother, and great grandmother. Yes, proud to be. I'm a teacher by profession. I taught in the education system for 50 years before retiring as an assistant professor and teacher educator in the teacher education faculty called the Center for Education Programs of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a teacher by calling. Teaching is my ministry. I'm also a transformational life coach and a life mastery consultant. I am an ordained minister in the Spiritual Baptist Christian faith, principal of the Herman Paris Spiritual Baptist Southland School of Theology of Trinidad and Tobago, established in 1981, and director and co-founder of the Foundation for the Academic Advancement of Spiritual Baptist Youth, a spiritual Baptist solution for a spiritual Baptist problem, established 1998. So there, I've introduced me, and I am pleased to meet you. So welcome again, and I hope you enjoy learning. as much as I enjoy teaching. Okay, so, oops, let's get the next slide. Oh no. All right. Yes. So, we're on series 3, Life Love Lessons for the Children's Sake, Living the Christ Life. And this is intended to encourage you, for the children's sake, to empower our children to access the more abundant life Christ promised, to maintain the authenticity of the spiritual Baptist Christian faith, and to actuate them to live a life they love and love the life they live. You see, over the years, I have recognized that there are so many people who are just existing, who are struggling, who are not loving life. And we have been gifted with life, and we should love the life we live and live a life that we can love. And the focus now is on the children because, let me take you to the introductory, because grounding takes lessons from series 1 and 2. Now, series 1 began with women of faith, and the the link that I put to give you a little piece of that introduction is not coming up. So I'll just tell you that Women of Faith, if you haven't seen it, it is available right here on the YouTube channel. You just have to go to live and you will see series 1 and all of the lessons for Women of Faith. And we dealt with some basic ideas in terms of if you are a person of faith, then you are supposed to be living at a certain level. Nothing is coming over. Okay. All right. So I am hoping that you are hearing and seeing me because I just got a report that someone is not getting the um, the video flowing on YouTube, but it says live and the clock is ticking, so I'm hoping that it is running. So after series 1, dealing with women of faith, we went on to series 2, which was done with men in mind. And obviously, because God created male and female, so having dealt with the women, we did some work with the men. And again, if you have not seen the series of lessons, I invite you to visit the YouTube channel and spend some time and go through the lessons in the series. Because we'll be talking about a number of things in this series that we would have expanded on and explained in series 1 and series 2. So Series 3 comes out of Series 1 and Series 2 because obviously the produce of male and female that God created in his image produces children. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Yes. So we are special, specially created. We are in the image of the Creator. And so we should be exceedingly happy to be the prized creation. And God didn't just create us and leave us, He made a lot of preparation for us so that we can have a beautiful life. So, what is our self perception? Made in the image of God, special, but what do we perceive ourselves to be? We have been dealt a hand of deceit and lack of knowledge, and we need to correct that. So, our self perception should be that I am a spiritual being sojourning in physical form, having a human experience. Yes, because God is a spirit and He made us in His image. So we are spirit. And we are spirit first and human after. The spiritual is before the physical. The spirit lived before it came into the body, and when it leaves the body, it continues to live. So we are spiritual beings, not human beings first, as we have been taught. And therefore, our perception of ourselves, if we know that we are spiritual beings, just spending some time here in this physical form in order to have this human experience, then we'll understand that our spiritual self is the real self. The human self is like the clothing that we wear. All right? And of course, we know that we were fearfully and wonderfully made. And when we understand that, when we have that within our perception of ourselves, then we think differently and we treat ourselves differently. And we need to come to terms with the fact that our perception is our reality. If we perceive ourselves to be human beings, first and foremost, with a spirit that's keeping it alive, then our focus will be on the human life. But if we perceive ourselves to be spiritual beings, first and foremost, then our focus will be on our spiritual lives. And that change in our belief will change our focus. You see, a different perspective leads to a different perception. And so it is important that we correct our perception of ourselves. And then, what is our perception of living? and life. Now, we need to change the narrative for the children's sake. Hopefully, some children will look at the series, some young people, so that they don't have to live with all the misperceptions that we've been taught, because we, the adults, will pass on. And that's why we started with the women of faith and the men of faith. We will be able to pass on the correct information to them, you see? So, and change the narrative that we have been given. John 10:10 tells us that living abundantly is our legacy. How did I arrive at that? Christ said, I'm come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So, abundant living is our legacy, and He came that we may have it even more abundantly. Right? And loving life is my destiny. So many people go through life not loving life, not even wanting to be alive, not experiencing the joy of being a spiritual being, having a human experience. And in John 13, there's a long discourse there when Christ explained that all men will know that ye are my disciples if ye have love one to another. Now, if we are going to love one another, we have to love ourselves and we have to love our life, because the greatest commandment is love. Love of God, love of self, love of neighbor. Right? So we have to change the narrative that we have been trained for our children, so that they know that life is not supposed to be a drudgery. It's not supposed to be something that you don't want to do. Life is supposed to be abundant. And we are supposed to love the life we live, because that is our destiny. An abundant life is our legacy. So that if we change the narrative from this thinking that life has to be so very hard and we have to suffer all the time and we don't know when we will get a bright day. No. If we are children of God, we are supposed to have a perception that is positive, that is loving, that is abundant, because our thinking has an effect on our living. All right? And while we would have been given those negative stories in the past, we must know, and I want to quote L.A. Watkins here, that the past may be an explanation for the present, but we must not use it as an excuse for the future. In other words, we must come to terms with the true perception of living and life and of our own being, and pass that on to our children so that they don't have to go through life from the perspective that we have had to go through it. And grounding number 3 looks at some myths and some truths. We have been taught that we are physical, we have a physical body, and we have 5 physical senses. And that is true. And we have been taught to value these 5 physical senses. So we put them at the top of the list. So much so that if we lose one of those senses, we want to die, even though we still have four other senses, because that is the kind of focus that was given to us. You see? And what you believe directly affects how you live. So if you feel that these physical senses are the be all and end all of it, then when you lose one, you don't want to continue living. But the truth is, we also have a spiritual body and spiritual senses. That's the truth. And there's this thing that we call a sixth sense, where we say, we have a gut feeling, we have a hunch, and we just know, but we haven't used any of the five physical senses to know. Well, that sixth sense is not just one sixth sense. We have, in fact, six spiritual senses that we have inherited along with our spiritual body. And of course, we know that we're told in Romans that the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. So that the spiritual life is important. It is the important one. And we need to pass that message on to the children. So we're talking about this sixth sense. And I'm saying that it's not just one sixth sense, but in fact, we have six spiritual senses that function for us in the spiritual realm. Now, our physical senses were given to us for us to manage the physical realm, but the spiritual senses are given to us to manage the physical realm through the spiritual realm. And therefore, we are able to do much more than the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and touch can do for us. And that sixth sense that we talk about, that hunch, that gut feeling, there's a name for it. Let me just get the other slide up. Oh, why are you doing me this? No. Yes. So that sixth sense is called intuition. Okay, and this slide is a little bit uh, out of focus, although we're shifting the focus, which is the name of it, because the program messed around a bit with the PowerPoint slide. And I tried fixing it before putting it on, but this is the best that I got out of it. Right? So hopefully I will become adept at rearranging things. So if we notice that children early in life, they have a spiritual connection. They have intuition. Because intuition is seeing with the soul. And you see, because they're still connected strongly with the spirit, they do things. And that intuition, we have it, but we as adults, we don't pay much attention to it. And sometimes when we get it, we ignore it. And sometimes we obey it and we surprised. And sometimes when we don't obey it, we are also surprised because of the outcome, right? So that intuition is really the whisper of the soul. It is seeing with the soul. It is the internal guidance system for life. And we need to understand that it is important, right? That intuition is a sense of knowing how to act spontaneously without needing to know why. And sometimes we do get that intuition and we say, but I just know that I shouldn't do this. I just know that this is what should be done. Intuition. A sage wrote that prayer is man speaking to God. Intuition is God speaking to man. Yes? And of course, we know that he's always in touch with us. We don't pay much attention, so we don't hear most of what he's saying. And we want to pass this knowledge on to the children. And we want to stop blocking them from using their intuition. They mustn't lose that spiritual connection that they have come with. Today, I'll go to another one of the spiritual senses. And again, this slide was messed up in the processing. So, that other early life spiritual connection is imagination. And I'm sure you'll all agree with me. Little children have great imagination. And what do? We tell them, you're spending too much time dreaming. You're spending too much time thinking about things that are not real. But imagination is real because it is part of our spiritual connection. It is one of our spiritual senses. And we need to encourage children to use their imagination. Recently, a teacher was saying to me that she had done some work on using the imagination with the infants. And the infants caught on and they were able to come up with all kinds of pictures. And we do think in pictures, eh? We don't think in words. We think in pictures. So they were able to come up with all kinds of pictures. And she did the same exercise with the older children in the standards. And initially, they had problems using their imagination. They wanted to see pictures and to be told what they should be seeing because we have for too long short circuited our children's imagination, not recognizing that that is a spiritual sense that we are born with. So we must let them dare to dream. You see, because everything is created twice. First, in the dream world, in the imagination, and then in what we call the real world, the physical world, where it manifests. But nothing manifests in the physical world without having first been recognized in the spirit world, in the imagination, in the dreams. If you don't dream, what are you going to develop? So we need to encourage the children to use their imagination, to dream. And the dreams that they dare to dream really will come true. If nobody ever dreamt of a chair for us to sit on, we'd still be sitting on the ground because we would not have made chairs. Everything in life that we call real was first birthed in the imagination, in the spirit realm, in the realm of thought and thinking, in the realm of dreams. dreaming. And so we want to encourage our children to dream, to use their imagination. Let them go as wild as they can, because that is where things are born. And we want to ensure that they live fulfilled lives, abundant lives, that they can love their lives by using their imagination. Now, imagination is what we call the image making faculty. If we don't have an image, then what are we going to make? Or what are we going to draw? What are we going to create? Imagination is a gift. And for the children's sake, we need to encourage them to develop that gift, to make use of it. You know, if the caterpillar stops dreaming, there would be no butterflies. Think about it. And let us encourage our children to dream, to use their imagination, because it's one of their spiritual faculties. Okay? So we've looked at two of them today: intuition and imagination. And as I said, if you look at the series one and series two, there's a whole lot of explanation and depth into the development of the spiritual senses. And we are going to look at others as we go along in the series. Okay? So let's move on. And we all are aware of this one. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that's Proverbs 22:6. That is why we want to encourage them to dream, to use their imagination, to get in touch with their intuition, or to stay in touch with their intuition, for them to have proper self-perception, understand the value of their life, that they are precious, that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, that they are spiritual beings having a human experience. And at this point, I want to just read for you a poem that we all know about, but I don't think we spend much time with it. It's called Children Learn What They Live. And that's in keeping with train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. So Dorothy Law Nolte wrote this poem. Children learn what they live. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with fear, he learns to be apprehensive. If a child lives with pity, he learns to feel sorry for himself. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with jealousy, he learns what envy is. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns to be confident. Yes? If a child lives with encouragement, he learns to be confident. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with praise, he learns to be appreciative. If a child lives with acceptance, he learns to be kind. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith in himself and in those about him. If a child lives with friendliness, he learns that the world is a nice place in which to live. And if you live with serenity, your child will live with peace of mind. Yes, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it, because children learn what they live. And so, if we give them that proper self perception, self worth, understanding, appreciation of themselves, valuing themselves as children of God, wonderfully made in the image of the Creator, then we will teach them the right things, and they will grow up to be confident, generous, loving. They will know that the world is not a bad place, that the world is a beautiful place. Because when God made the world, everything He made, He ensured that it was good. So we just have to pass that information on to the children so that they will live a better, brighter, more abundant life. Yes? So I hope that this first lesson in grounding, coming out of series 1 and series 2 of Life Love Lessons, has been informative and enjoyable. And so, for the children's sake, we'll meet again next Monday at the same time. And I am open now for you to send in your comments and questions. And I will exit the full screen so that I can see if there are questions or comments being sent in. And even at this time, I want to thank you for watching, for sharing, for being here. And even if you are seeing it after the fact, I still want to thank you. And I hope that it serves you in good stead. Yes, so I am awaiting any comments or questions before I bring the lesson to an end. And of course, this is just our first lesson. It's our first evening. We're going to be continuing every Monday evening at 6 p.m. on Abundant Life Mastery at the Core, where we will continue with the lessons of Life Love Lessons, Series 3, for the children's sake. And just to recap, that we're living the Christ life because that is the true life. We are spiritual beings first, We've been made in the image of God. We've been fearfully and wonderfully made. And even though we may have been trained to think that we are just human beings, we know that we are, in fact, spiritual beings having a human experience. And we know that our perception is our reality, and therefore we need to have a proper self perception, knowing that living abundantly is our legacy and loving life is our destiny. And that we are more than physical. We have more than the five physical senses that we have been trained to value so greatly. We have six spiritual senses that are of much greater value to make this life abundant and loving. And we've looked at two of them, intuition and imagination. And we'll be looking at others in the other sessions. And we're doing it for the children's sake because they are our future. We are on the way out and they are coming up. And we need to change the narrative that we give them. We've been fooled for many years, miseducated, told things that are not really true. So now we want to pass on the truth to our children so that they can have a much more abundant and loving life than we ever had. So let me thank you all and say God bless you. And I look forward to being with you next Monday at 6 p.m. on Abundant Life Mastery at the Call on the YouTube channel. God bless you. Have a good evening. Bye bye.